Is my partner secretly gay? This video here is not to shame anybody, but it's here to talk honestly about why that question comes up in some relationships and why for many people it's not just emotional, it's about safety. This conversation, it also applies to both men and women, and it often comes up in relationships involving narcissistic traits where intimacy is withheld, connection feels mechanical, and something essential is missing. Sexual orientation itself is not the problem. The problem is the secrecy, identity suppression, and the use of relationships as cover, because when truth is absent, informed consent and physical safety are put at risk. So Deanna King here for those who don't know me, and this channel is all talk narcissism and codependency. And with that, we begin. We often hear people questioning whether their partners are closeted gays, and we're going to be talking about this today, but I want to note that if you look at blogs or social media comments, we seem to only see men being questioned around this. And I think that it's because, well, most times it's women who open up more on the subject, but this whole closeted gay applies to both. I also want to add an addendum here before we begin. I am not gay phobic, and I'm not here to shame anyone in any shape or form. We all have lives to live, and we all have free will. So how others live is their choice and theirs alone. But today, I'm talking about the closeted ones. I'm talking about supposedly heterosexual couples who are partnered up with a narcissist, and evidence seems to point to non-heterosexual, and that can feel devastating to the victim. They can't make sense of what's happening within the relationship, or should I say what's not happening. And some could play both fields, and I'll get to that. But for right now, I'm talking about the ones who don't yet are still suspect. The partner never gets to be kissed. It's also often more noticeable in the cerebral narcissist, because these cerebrals, they really see others as below. I mean, all narcissists do, of course, but the cerebral has that extra flavor. Kissing is an intimate part of a relationship, so when the partner isn't getting kissed, it feels rather cold. It's no intimacy. They feel unloved and they feel unwanted. They feel that something's wrong with them because they're obviously undesirable. When it comes to sex, that's all it is. It's sex. There isn't any hugs. Often for some, no foreplay, and the victim is the one doing all the work. And as soon as it's over, it's over. There isn't any giggling or shared late night talks. They'll just turn over and go to sleep or return to their cell phones or whatever it is that they do. And that's because for them, kissing is seen as bonding. It is bonding, and they don't want to bond because that would make them vulnerable. That would make them equal to you in their strange minds. They'll avoid intimacy to create a boundary, to keep an emotional distance. It's all about control, where part of that control helps to maintain a power imbalance. Them above, you below. Them tall, you small. But some of you might have witnessed intimacy at the beginning, or maybe even once in a while, but that's the love bombing phase, and when they need something, both in which are forms of manipulation. A narcissist sees connection as weakness. They not only reject it, they fear it. It also serves as a way to bring the partner down. So if the partner who's often codependent feels unwanted, they'll do more to get acknowledged. They'll work harder for love because that's what they were programmed to do. And the narcissist is well aware of that. They actually see making any extra effort as a chore that they simply are not interested in doing. It's below them. Very, very selfish and uncaring people, sadly. Partners are just a means to an end, a tool that they can use for their own selfish needs. Now, as per narcissism and being gay, although both genders are sometimes questioned regarding their sexuality, there still isn't a correlation, not directly, but rather to be used as a way to get what they want. For some, it's power. For others, attention, validation, money, job, advancement, who knows, whatever they need. Remember, people are tools, and a partner is not a human being to a narcissist. A tool is a tool. Sex is sex. It doesn't go past that. But that isn't enough to start questioning if they're gay here, other than not being intimate. So why all the questions out there? Let's take a look at the chameleon personality types. Chameleon types match the behaviors of those around them. They copy not only the behaviors of others, but also the beliefs, the perspectives, and the attitudes of others. They adjust their mannerisms and language depending on the social environment that they're in. They present as refined in certain circles and far more casual or rough-edged in others. Emotions is another copycat thing that they do. If they're around someone who's on a spiritual path, they are too. But a partier are around those who party. If someone is angry at the world, so are they. It's all in an attempt to be seen, to blend in, to be accepted, and for some is due to a lack of identity, especially if this person is a narcissist. They're extremely alert, as in on the lookout. They notice everything. You know, a lot of narcissists, they claim to be highly intuitive, but it's more in the sense that they're hyper observant. But regarding the chameleon personality type or traits, it can be used in intimacy with same-sex partner, even though deep down they're heterosexual. They want to fit in. Moreover, sometimes it's a symptom of BPD, borderline personality disorder. Again, the lack of stability in their sense of self. So because of this, they can be bisexual, heterosexual, or homosexual. And then we have the transactional sexuality. And I did talk about this part, but I hadn't given it a name, so let's just go over it quickly, because often that's what most people are looking at. I talked about the idea of control for power and for acknowledgement or validation, and how they don't connect emotionally. They also don't do rules and boundaries. They don't want the idea of having lines drawn in the sand as to what they can and cannot do, because that wouldn't make them the top dog. They want to push the limits. They want to do whatever it is that society says they shouldn't do. So with that comes promiscuity and cheating. And for others, it can mean zero intimate encounters, because that too is power and control. And then we have no solid internal core. And this is not about being gay here. It's about disowning parts of the self due to fear, shame, or a rigid self-image, and then compensating through external validation and control. It's a fractured inner identity caused by rejecting parts of the self that feel unsafe to acknowledge. A self that was constructed to survive, not to be authentic. It's all organized around performance rather than authenticity. So instead of developing a stable inner identity, they learned to hide or to split off parts of themselves early on. Their sense of self becomes extremely externally maintained, because internally important parts were never allowed to exist openly. But all of you empaths out there, don't go and feel sorry for them here. You can feel sorry for them, but do that in secret, because even though they went through what they went through, they also know what they're putting you through, and that is intentional. Now, there definitely are closeted gays within the world of narcissists. These types feel a deep, deep shame for feeling what they feel. And so to cover it up, they're going to meet and marry someone of the opposite sex. That's a mask right there. Now, with what I say here, don't count on these descriptions to positively identify if they are or they are not. There are as many different types of people as fingerprints or snowflakes, but use your own discernment. Use your intuition as you pay attention to these red flags. Are they effeminate in their mannerisms? That could be something to pay attention to. Are they homophobic? A lot of times the closeted gays will have extreme homophobia when it comes to homosexuality. Remember, these people are filled with shame, so they'll be in judgment of what they're trying to hide. The mechanical sex also, but again, that could be cerebral narcissism. Still, keep your eyes open. If your partner is male, notice how they act around other men. Do they seemingly make more effort around them? Do they groom more? Pay attention to how they dress. Do they go out of their way to present more groomed? Are they out with men a lot for long hours and appear to be hiding something and you can't put your finger on it? What are their shopping habits like? What about porn? Now, like I said, but I really want to be clear, none of what I'm describing is a definite marker that someone is a closeted gay. But if you are wondering, it is a cause for concern. Regardless if someone is secretly gay or cheating with the opposite sex, you always want to protect yourself against diseases. And if you're with a narcissist, they have no concern about any of that except the fear of being caught. So here's the most important thing I want you to take away from this. Whether your partner is closeted, bisexual, heterosexual, cheating, or simply emotionally unavailable, the label doesn't change the impact. If you feel unwanted, disconnected, starved for affection, and constantly questioning yourself, that alone is information. Healthy relationships don't leave you guessing, shrinking, or performing for love. And in narcissistic relationships especially, the confusion becomes the cage. So instead of asking, are they secretly gay? A more grounded question is, why am I staying in a relationship where intimacy is withheld and my needs don't matter? You don't need proof. You don't need a diagnosis. You need safety, clarity, and reciprocity. And if any of this resonates, trust that signal. Your body and intuition are often telling you the truth long before your mind can accept it. So thank you for watching, and please don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. Take care, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.